All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of the BRO2PRO podcast with Big Mo and Randy Madsen. So just a little intro about the podcast. We're basically starting this to showcase amateur bodybuilders on their road to becoming pro bodybuilders or like whatever their goals may be. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to have a lot of different guests on, hopefully females, males, people in the top amateur ranks. So that's a plan. But for now, episode 1 is going to be me and Randy kind of talking, like introducing ourselves, what we've done so far in the fitness industry, what our own goals are, and just talking about the industry itself. So, Randy, man, what's up with you?
Not much, man. I'm just hoping I don't get cut off on this call by one of my tenants. I got some rental real estate properties going on, and one of them's got a furnace problem that I've been dealing with. But other than that, it's Friday here, just about to start our Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada.
Hell yeah.
Excited about getting this podcast going, especially with you. I mean, we've talked about doing something like this before. And I can tell you, the reason that I thought would be a great idea for you to start a podcast is not only do you have a big following, but you put in a lot of effort in your social media, like your Instagram stories, for example. I noticed you were always talking to your stories, the story feed thing there, and putting out some good content. But in my mind, it was like, not only is it hard to watch those sometimes, and you can't pause it and come back to it, and they disappear, and it just made it hard to engage with. So I was like, Morgan has got all this great content. He needs to like put this in a YouTube format and maybe even monetize it. So I'm glad that we're finally getting this started and showcasing some amateurs on their way to the pro. I think that's great. I mean, I really love what like Bodybuilders Without Borders and Sulios are doing on Instagram. Maybe we'll even have them on in the future if they're down. But I think, the more spotlight we can put on each other, the better we'll all be. And, maybe we can help some guys get noticed and even make some money.
Yeah, totally, man. I totally agree on all those points. Like, I think kind of what sparked my idea is just how there's so many pro bodybuilders doing podcasts now that are really great because they're talking about like what bodybuilding like really is.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of, we're used to the same old trick with bodybuilding, like not to like hate on like RX muscle or anything like that. Like I do like RX muscle and muscular development. I think they're great sources of information, but like some of them are like, it's kind of getting repetitive. So what I've noticed and what I've been enjoying lately myself is like all these like actual pros themselves that now have podcasts. Like Fuad Abiad has a great one. Yeah, that's amazing. Ron Cartlow and Dusty got their thing going now. And like those are probably the podcasts I look forward to the most. But there's no one really doing that like on the amateur side of the sport. And where I feel like most of the fans of the sport are amateur bodybuilders themselves, or like a lot of them definitely are. So I think it's gonna be cool just to give like them a voice and, like you said, like put the spotlight on some of them because they're all really the future of the industry. So I think it will be cool, even in the future, to look back on these podcasts that we're gonna do over the next however long we keep this going, and just to see like where those people go, and then where we go ourselves. Like it's gonna be pretty interesting to see how it all pans out, I guess, right?
Yeah, I want to get some guys on and ask them, where they're coming from, what their goals are, what they're doing to get there, and get into the details too for anyone that's not afraid to talk about it. Because I can tell you right now that one of my pet peeves in bodybuilding and the fitness community is when people misrepresent what other people are doing or what they're doing in terms of training and diet and supplementation gear. I really hate when you see something posted on a forum or a board and people think it's real, whether it's a super high dose cycle or super low dose cycle or some ridiculous diet. You see someone post their food pictures on Instagram and you think, oh, these people are like having cheat meals every single weekend or more often than that, when in reality that may not be very accurate, and it's kind of misrepresenting what the lifestyle really is.
Well, I think too, like a lot of people on, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people on social media too, like especially when these like people like blow up on social media, like you have guys like Vincenzo Massone and like Nick Walker, who are like unreal amateur bodybuilders. Like no doubt those guys are going to be pros. but like people only see them like where they are now, like not how they got there, like where they started from, like the sacrifices they had to make, like, you know, probably not going to like school, like, you know, working 2 or 3 jobs to pay for their bodybuilding needs. Like those are the things I want to hear from guys. Like what do they have to do to get to the point where they are now, where they are popular and they do have a following and like they are getting close to that, like joining the pro ranks.
Yeah, and you know, the things that they're doing now aren't necessarily the things that got them to where they're at, right? So like
Yeah.
their training styles, you know, the volume they got to use now, the exercises they use now might not be what helped put on that first 30, 40, 50 pounds kind of thing. So that's interesting to get their perspective, and hopefully we can get some pretty good guests. But I think for today, let's kind of treat this like we're each kind of the guest and kind of talk to each other and learn about where we came from and what we're doing now and what our goals are. And so I'll put the question to you first. What got you into bodybuilding in the first place?
Well, for me, like when I was younger, right up until I was about like 18, 19, man, it was all basketball. My whole life revolved around basketball.
Yeah. How tall are you?
6'2".
6'2". Okay.
Yeah, so like not really tall enough to like go anywhere with it, but like for me, like I played on all like the like provincial basketball teams, so like we would go to nationals every year and get smoked by like Ontario and Quebec and stuff. But my ultimate goal was just to play for like our local university, like Memorial University in Newfoundland, and like I was pretty much there, but I just got to the point with it like where I was in school and like the commitment to basketball was so big that like, and I was a bit of a partier too. So like I was like, you know, like I kind of put the screws to basketball, was in school, wasn't really doing much with that either. It was pretty much just like partying for me. And
Kind of like a lost kid.
What's that?
Kind of just lost.
Oh yeah, man. I was super lost. Like I was going down a I was going down a rabbit hole, man, basically. And I just basically like found myself getting out of shape, but like, and that's what bothered me because I was always in shape just from all like the running and stuff with basketball, obviously. So I just decided like just basically start going to the gym, and I responded like pretty good. Like, and then I kind of like started getting like just like more and more into like the supplements and stuff like that. And then eventually when I realized like how important diet was, I started taking that into consideration. And that's kind of what like slowly got me away from the partying. Is like I kind of was seeing how like drinking every weekend was like hindering my performance in the gym. Like because I really kind of caught the bug with bodybuilding. Like competing was a no-no for me at this time. Like I had some people mention it to me, and like I knew a couple guys that did it, but the thought of getting on stage and like a marathon basically was just like no fucking way was that going to happen for me, right?
Yeah.
But I think eventually, as I got more and more into it, like that, I was a competitor all my life. So like that need to compete in something was just like always there with me. And I really missed it. Like I missed like having a purpose. Like I missed training for something. Cause like I was still like kind of like partying a little bit here and there, I guess. And I just needed something. I needed a purpose. So yeah, then I basically eventually signed up for my first like bodybuilding show in like 2013. I remember going through that. I was in school at the time. I remember being like 3 or 4 weeks out and just saying to myself that I was never going to do it again.
Yeah.
Like I was like, there's like, this is it. I'm going to finish what I started because that's the type of person I was. Like, you know, I had too much pride to quit. But I was like, after I do this, like I'm done with it. And then eventually got to the show, like did half decent. It was just like a local show in Newfoundland. So, but I remember seeing the guy that won, John Whalen. He did the Gladiator with us.
Oh, I know John. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like he's a good bodybuilder. So I remember seeing him win it, and I was like, I need to know what that feels like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and like I left just like everybody does after every show. You leave with a ton of motivation. But then I eventually like hired a coach and like worked with him all year. Like learned a lot more about it. Like learned a lot more about like gear and how to eat to like actually gain size. And yeah, once I started making improvements, man, the rest was history.
Yeah, and then you were just hooked, right?
Yeah, man. It was just like everything was based around bodybuilding in my life then. I just like, and I knew right away because I started following guys like Antoine and,
Yeah.
you know, like, because I think why I connected so well with some of them is because like they were younger, and especially Antoine, like all of his training videos, like the heavy metal and stuff in the background, like I could connect with that, you know what I mean? As opposed to like guys like Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman at the time, like I couldn't connect with them, first of all, because they were such freaks, but like they were almost like, they were so hardcore, like at the time, I just couldn't connect. But when I saw like younger guys doing it that had like common interests with me, I was like, okay, like this is actually kind of cool. Like it's sort of like, you know, I kind of felt like there was somewhere for me there. And yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Antoine. I mean, I identify with a lot of what you said with the starting with that sports and then kind of needing something after that. But I feel like Antoine was at the forefront of, you know, fitness on social media, like hardcore bodybuilders on social media, putting out regular content, entertaining content, and stuff that the young lifters could really identify with. I mean, I got to Antoine in about 2013, and I got so into Antoine's material that after I did a competition in 2013, it was in New Brunswick. I went all the way to Quebec to Archie's gym in Montreal just to train at the gym that I saw his videos were being shot at.
Oh, shit, man. Cool.
Yeah. Well, it was combined. Like I actually went for a Joe Rogan stand-up show. And I knew that Archie's gym would be there. So when all my friends were making all these other plans, I was like, I'm going to Archie's gym. And I went there and I met Steve, the man. He's good buddies with Antoine. I've actually stayed friends with Steve since, but yeah, Antoine was a big role of mine too. But similar to you, I had an athletic background. That's why I had these football jerseys, and even some of the trophies on my shelf over here are from high school and college sports. My main bag was football though. And I can remember, well, actually in high school, it'll eventually come up. Like my strength is my legs, my quads, and yours as well. But everyone asks, what did you do to get that? And really the truth is, other than genetics and just hard work in the last 10 years kind of thing, when I was in the 10th grade, I joined the football team, and we played against a team out of Moncton, New Brunswick, who had a running back who just ran all over us. And he had these massive quads. So in my mind, it was like big quads make you a better running back, stronger runner, more powerful runner. So we had this like a Gold's Gym weight bench in our basement. Thanks to my stepfather, who he was really into bodybuilding himself. So he was a big reason, but I would do leg extensions and leg curls and body weight squats until I couldn't walk up the stairs. And I would just do that. And then I'd do that every day for a while. And I really punished my legs. And whether or not that really made my legs grow, I don't know. But I like to tell that story.
You were the opposite of most people, man. Like most people, when they start working out, it's just like chest and arms, like every day. Like no one touches legs. Like I didn't even know when I started, because I knew how well my legs responded.
Yeah.
My first, I swear to God, my first couple of workouts doing legs, man, they just started blowing up, but I couldn't fit into my jeans. So I just stopped training them. I was like, man, fuck this. Like I still want to go out and look good and stuff. I was like, my upper body sucks. I was like, my legs are fine. I'm not even going to train.
That's funny. Well, when my stepfather started taking me to the gym with him, he would do the normal workouts but the leg equipment, like the leg press and the hack squat and the leg extension, leg curl, calf stuff, that's all super easy to use. Like you can't really fuck that up. And so he showed me how to use those, and I'd go with him to the gym like every other day, and I would just do circuits on the leg machines. And I remember one of his buddies was like, that's going to stunt his leg growth. You better tell him to cool off. And nowadays I've got like heavyweight quads on a middleweight.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, I played football, and I did really well with it. I played college ball. I played at Bishop's University for my first year, and then I switched to UNB and played UNB for a few years. But eventually, my eligibility ran out, and I graduated school. I started going to a Good Life in town where a couple guys that I played football with were training, and they had just gotten into bodybuilding, and where they were prepping for a show. And I just started asking them questions, because I already knew a little bit about diet. I'd already kind of gotten on to bodybuilding.com, our T Nation, started reading about calories and the macros, and already kind of given myself control of my diet a little bit. And I got abs for the first time on my own, but seeing them prep for a show and what went into it, it made it real to me. It made it possible to me. While at the same time, I needed something, like you said. I was done school, I was done football, I was out in the working world, and I wanted a reason to still train hard, and I wanted something to be competitive in. So in 2011, I decided to do my first show. I got serious about it. I even hired a coach. And in November 2011, I did the New Brunswick Provincials, and I won lightweight there. And so, I mean, I've done like 10 shows since then, I think. And you and I met at the second Gladiator competition that was hosted at the Atlantics. Was that 2017 or 2018?
2018.
2018, yeah. And so to date, I mean, that appearance was probably my best look ever.
Me too.
Yeah, you looked awesome. Yeah, I remember I saw you on the invite list and I looked you up. And I remember you had this one picture. It was kind of from off to the side of your front double bicep. And I was like, who the fuck is that guy? Because you had so much thickness from top to bottom at that angle.
Yeah.
And I was like, that guy's going to win for sure. I had no scale though. I didn't know how tall you were or anything. You just looked so huge in that one picture. And then when we met backstage, we hit it off like right away. And
well, I needed your fan. You remember that?
Yeah, I was
like, this fan. I was like, I'm taking this fucking fan. Like my armpits were sweating and shit. And then you were like,
I brought a fan.
You're like, that's not a fan, but you can use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew that you weren't in my like height class for the Gladiator, so I was like, it's fine, I'll help him out. And I even tried to give you like some posing tips or whatever. But yeah, and then coincidentally, when we were talking about our post-show plans, you were like, I'm going on a vacation after this with my girl, and I was like, no shit, me too. Where are you going? And it turns out we were going to the exact same resort.
Yeah, like pretty much the same time, like with like give or take a few days.
Yeah, and so yeah, we hit it off, and we've been pretty good friends since.
So let me ask you, man. So like, what was your once you got out of university? Like, what was your first job? And like, did you find it difficult, like with working and trying to do bodybuilding at the same time, or?
No, that's actually a great question. And so before I even finished university, I had gotten a job offer from a technology company, just in lead gen. Just as a lead gen person, trying to reach out to other businesses to find opportunities for our company to sell into them. And the reason I say that it's been a tremendous help that I've had the job, and I'm still with this company. I've just worked my way up the corporate ladder since 2011 with the same company. But they have really cool benefits, like they give us time off during the day for health and fitness initiatives. And they give us $100 a month for gym memberships or fitness activities. So, they pay for my gym memberships, and they'd even let me either, come in a little late or have extended lunch or leave early to get my training done. And so in addition to, having lots of time off for vacations, because you got to take time off to travel for shows and stuff. And work was really close to the gym. So if anything, it really facilitated everything. And now I'm in a role where I can pretty much make my hours. So I work from home too. So eat my own meals straight out the fridge or off the stove, and when I want to, when I need to, train when I have to, that kind of thing. So it's been great. What about?
Yeah. So yeah, like I wanted to ask you that because I for myself, right from the get-go, like I'm an all or nothing person in everything I do. So it was basketball, then it was partying, and then it was bodybuilding. So what I figured out quickly was, after doing that first prep being in school, I was actually going to school to go work offshore as a remotely operated vehicle pilot. I had like one course left to do when I quit, because that's right around when I finished my first show, and I was like, I'm doing this all the way. And I knew there's no possible way I'm working offshore and doing the bodybuilding thing, right? So it all kind of like, the universe kind of came through for me on this, because right when I like decided in my own mind that I was going to quit school, before I told my parents and everything like that, I was at my regular Good Life that I've always trained at, that I used to work out before I went to school. And my old manager just happened to stick her head out the door and was like, any chance you want your job back? We're hiring. And I was like, yes, I do. So I went home from that gym session, broke the shitty news to my parents. Well, good news for me, shitty news for them. And after some convincing, basically got their blessing to do it and get back into the personal training, right? But and that was the only idea I had originally. So I was like, okay, I did pretty good at Good Life originally. For anyone who doesn't know, that's just like a corporate gym in Canada where you can work as a personal trainer through the company. So I was basically just left to assume, like, you know, if I can work in a gym and with personal training, you can somewhat make your own schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know, that's kind of the route I went with it. So, but I knew I was like, I'm going to have to, like, my whole world is going to have to revolve around this bodybuilding thing if it's going to work out for me. So
Yeah,
that was the beginning, and then years go by, and then started taking like online clients and that kind of thing. And like, that's where I'm trying to head now full time, right? So, but yeah, I don't think
that
a lot
you
of people
did real well too as a personal trainer. I heard from other trainers, like your numbers and like your clients were like, you were near the top, right?
yeah, and dude, like without even really trying, like I still work for Good Life now. I'm kind of my way out, but literally for the last 3 years, man, probably 4 years, I've probably done 5 or 6 consults to try to get new clients.
Yeah.
So all my clients have either like renewed with me, or I've just gotten clients just from like referrals from other clients and just word of mouth. Like I've never had to try to get clients. Like they've always just been there waiting for me, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like I've really gotten by this last 3 or 4 years, only working like at the most like 5 or 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. You know,
Nice.
which has allowed me to eat 6 meals a day and do my preps. And it was great, especially in prep, man, because I get up like 5:30 in the morning, be at the gym, get my cardio done, and then I eat my first meal and train my clients, get them done, eat another meal, do my weight training session, and then I'd be done for the day. And it was all in one place, right?
So I guess I had some kind of maybe some misconceptions about what it's like to be a personal trainer based on what I've seen. So I thought it would actually be a tough gig to do while you're a bodybuilder, because, you know, you got to commit your own physical time, you know, and you got to work around other people's schedules, and you're on your feet all the time, and you have to be personable and fun to be around. And, you know, that some facets or some points of a prep or an off season, that can be hard to do, you know, when you're working on other people's schedules and you got to be chatty and fun and stuff.
Yeah,
But unlike your experience.
It wasn't always easy. Like it definitely wasn't, like, especially like towards the last couple of weeks of prep or whatever. But one thing I'll say about personal training is like when you're someone like me that has like thousands and thousands of hours in the gym yourself, and like especially like for me, I've always done like my own training. I've never followed a training program in my whole life.
Yeah.
So like I could like almost intuitively train my clients, as were like other trainers, like people who just want to be a personal trainer, and like they have to learn that skill, right? So they would have to like come in early, write up their clients' programs, and like try to figure out how many like reps and sets and what weight they should use and like all this extra work. I never did any of that ever.
Yeah.
Like I would go on my client, they would just tell me what their goals were. All of my clients worked out like bodybuilders, and they still do. Like I'm not even kidding you. Like I trained 16, 7-year-olds, and they're running like push pull lower. Like, you know, some of them have a bit more like functional type stuff, like some like I don't know, like some farmers walks and just stuff to help them like basically carry their groceries from their car into their house.
Right.
But that I think that cut out a lot of the extra work for me. Like I could just go into work, and my goal was just to always give my clients just like a good workout so they can leave feeling like they did something productive, you know. And that was easy to me because I didn't even have to think about it, right?
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good perspective. So would you recommend personal training for someone that wants to take their bodybuilding career as a top priority?
Yeah, I probably would. Like, you know, but like you also need to enjoy that. Like, being a personal trainer is one of the best things that ever happened to me, even from like a social aspect, because like I'm an introvert, like I'm a homebody, right?
Yeah.
And getting into that job, especially with Good Life, when you work for a corporate gym, they have a lot of they have a lot of training for you to do, a lot of sales-based training. So it's a lot of like role playing, a lot of script work, right?
Yeah.
And like initially when I started that stuff, like it was kind of scary to me. Like I had trouble with it just because I was just a shy person. But working that job and just like having to sit down and do consults, especially like when I first worked there, when I was first establishing myself, like meeting like 8 or 10 new people every day. And then you're trying to sell them these like personal training packages that range anywhere from like $2,000 to $10,000. Like eventually you got to grow a set of balls to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get really used to being rejected, right? And you learn just how to take that and take it on the chin and then just move forward. And eventually you learn, like with consistency and persistence in what you're doing, you become successful. So that's like one thing it really did for me. But if you're a person and you can't really come out of your shell and you can't like connect with people, like you need to be able to kind of change channels with your clients, because all your clients are different. They have different personalities.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to adjust, like, because your ultimate job is to keep everybody happy. And although you're trying to help them with their physical goals, like that's an hour they need to enjoy from a social aspect of things too, right? So, you know, if you're that type of person, you can do that, then I do recommend it. But if you're not willing to kind of adjust your own personality in certain scenarios, it probably won't work out for you, and it'll probably just become like a stressful thing for you, right?
It sounds like in a lot of ways, being a personal trainer is like being an entrepreneur and running your own business, because you gotta generate your own leads. You gotta get them signed up. You gotta talk them into buying it, and then you gotta keep them happy and manage them like customers or even people that report to you along the line and kind of through the life cycle of a customer.
Yeah, it definitely is like that, man. It's
Cool.
But I learned a lot from that job, man. Like I said, it really brought me out of my shell, and you know, I think a big part of that job is why I can talk on social media and I can like do YouTube videos and stuff like that, like with no issues. Like I'm sure if I had to get into a different line of work, I'd be the same like super introverted person I was before it all, right? So
yeah, we've got a lot in common that way. I'm an introverted person as well. Like I'm always the quiet guy in the room unless you talk to me. And then once you speak to me and I feel like you're interested in what I have to say, and, you know, hopefully it's a topic I know something about, I'll open right up. But if people are just making small talk, that's not my game. I don't make small talk. And I don't like really talking about things that I don't know about, because that just feels like wasted space to me. So I let other people do that, and people will call me quiet, but you want to talk bodybuilding, you want to talk dogs, you know, you want to talk something that I know about, then I'll open up. But I'm that quiet guy at the gym that's got his head down and, you know, real intense look on his face that no one really bothers, because I just look super serious. But so I got a question for you, and I know this is a question that everybody wants to know. I even had some of my friends ask me to ask you about it, but I think people want to know, what the hell does it take to be 300 pounds? You know, like how much are you eating every day? Yeah. How much are you eating every day? How many hours in the gym are you at? And like, what kind of supplements are you taking? Whatever you're comfortable explaining. I know, you know, you've got a coach and stuff. You don't want to give away maybe too many of his secrets, but people are dying to know, I think. How do you get to 300 pounds?
Well, like first and foremost, it's the food, right? Like the food is everything. It doesn't matter what you take. It doesn't matter how you train. If the food isn't there, you can't grow out of thin air, right? Like that's what I always say to people, because obviously I get that question a lot, like how much do you eat and stuff like that. But it's like, it's the consistency of it all that what really matters, right? So I'll give you a breakdown of so right now, well, we actually just took my food down because I'm coming off now. Like I'm going to cruise for like 8 or 10 weeks, so my food just brought down slightly, mostly just my protein. But week before last, my food was at the highest it ever was. So I'll give you a rundown, and it's going to take a while, but this will emphasize how much it takes, right? So my first meal would be 3 whole eggs, 4 ounces of chicken with 130 grams of cream of rice, 70 grams of blueberries, and I take some like fish oil with that. Okay. So that'd be my first meal. My second meal would be like a pre-workout meal. So just 6 ounces of chicken,
How long after your first meal? I assume you have breakfast upon waking.
Well, so this was one of the big struggles I had. So with the personal training, I'd either start work at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, but I'd only work like 3 or 4 hours. So if I could get home by 10 o'clock, then I would start with that first meal.
Okay.
And then I'd be eating every 2 hours after that. But there are some days where I would work till like 11 or 12, which obviously was too late to wait late, right? So what I would do in that case is I would just take one of my chicken meals. This would always mess my day up a bit, but it just had to be done. I would take my chicken meal that was just chicken and rice. Instead of having chicken, I would do like a scoop and a half of protein powder, and I would just blend that up with 400 grams of cooked rice, and I would just drink it when I was training one of my clients, or like drink and chew it. But on a perfect day, I would start eating around like 9:30 or 10 o'clock, have that first meal. 2 hours later, I would eat 6 ounces of chicken with 400 grams of rice. I would go to the gym. I would drink a cup of orange juice mixed with water during my workout. As soon as I was done my workout, I would drink 75 grams of carbolene with 5 grams of creatine, 10 grams of glutamine, and 10 grams of EAAs. My post-workout meal, I would do 6 ounces of chicken with half an avocado and 400 grams of cooked rice again. Then my fourth meal would be 8 ounces of ground beef with 400 grams of rice and half a cup of cranberry juice. My fifth meal would be the same thing without the cranberry juice, so 8 ounces of ground beef with 400 grams of rice. My last meal would be 8 ounces of salmon with 400 grams of rice and a banana. And then right before I go to bed, I would have a scoop of protein mixed in with 150 grams of Morning Crisp cereal, which is like a cereal that's pretty much just granola and like cashews.
Yeah, love that stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's super calorie dense. Like, so
yes.
I was with the most calorie dense one, and it's like 12 grams of fat per serving, and I would have 3 servings of that, right? So
nice.
Yeah, so it was like I'd have 150 grams of that cereal, so it was a pretty big bowl of cereal, right?
Yeah.
So that was my diet for.
Do you have any idea how many total calories that was, approximately?
I think it's like around like probably like 7,500 to 8,000.
Damn.
Yeah, because it's quite a bit of fats in there with like the egg and the beef and the salmon and the fish oil and the avocado and the cereal, right? So the fat is what really adds up. But I mean, like, the toughest part about that diet plan was the 400 grams of rice 5 times a day, right?
Yeah.
Like, so my rice cooker would be full at the start of the day and empty by the end of the day. Every single day, right?
Isn't it so nice though to eat rice that's cooked that day though, and not just from a Tupperware container the night before or whatever?
Yeah, that's like the one thing I had going for me. So I throw on my rice cooker before I go to bed every night, so that rice was just like in the pot, ready to go for that whole next day. But yeah, like it's a lot better than like having to refrigerate rice and then take it back out and heat it up, man. Like there's nothing.
So were you taking anything for like appetite aids? You know, I hear about guys using peptides for appetite, and then also what about? I see you shaking your head no. What about digestive enzymes, probiotics, prebiotics, stuff like that? So
with the appetite stuff, I always eat like right up until like almost like the last few weeks of this off-season phase. I'm super insulin sensitive.
Yeah.
Like always have been. Like every day, like after my first meal, like right when I got to that 2-hour mark, like I would start going hypo, right?
Yeah. And
then even after my second, it was only like my third or fourth or fifth meal, I didn't have to worry about it very much. Like, but still either way, like, and like I'm not using insulin, everybody. Like I didn't touch insulin, just so if anybody thinks that might be why. That's just my body just running through the food, and I would just need more. So I would always have food on me if I went anywhere. So a lot of those days I would eat more than I actually was supposed to. Like I would eat maybe like a granola bar or drink like a juice box or something. So with the peptides like GHRP6, for example, or like MK. Is it like 677 or 667, some shit like that?
677, yeah.
Yeah, like so those things, when I take them, they make me feel like I'm going hypo. like they don't really induce hunger for me. They just make me feel like I'll get shaky when I take those,
Yeah.
and I'll start sweating and stuff like that. So I just avoid that because it happens to me anyway.
Yeah.
I'll be honest here. The only thing that's helped me with eating is smoking weed.
Hey, welcome to Canada.
Yeah, man. Like that's and I actually tried to quit like about halfway through this last off-season phase, just because I just wanted to. I was just like, I was just kind of getting sick of it. Like, so I had a couple days there where I tried my very best not to smoke, and I went from like the eating went from being hard to being impossible.
Yeah.
Right. So like I gotta give some props to marijuana for allowing me to get the food down. Right. So that definitely helped me. But yeah, I'm big on the digestive enzymes and stuff, man. I take digestive enzymes probably like 4 or 5 times a day. Probiotics, I don't really use that often. I use them, like the thing about probiotics is I'll use them, but if I stop using them, I don't find any difference in my digestion at all.
Yeah, right.
One big thing though that I love is psyllium husk. Just taking straight psyllium husk for the fiber, man. Like that keeps everything moving. Like I'll take a serving in the morning and a serving before I go to bed, and that keeps me just like on schedule with my digestion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it sounded like there wasn't a ton of fiber in your. Well, I mean, there was a fair amount, but not relative to the total calorie intake.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I don't eat any vegetables.
No.
When I'm on this diet, I use like a green supplement, right?
Yes. Okay, because it's hard to eat vegetables when you're trying to plow that much rice.
It's fucking impossible on that diet plan.
Yeah.
Like you don't want like you want the extra. You don't want that to be like your stomach full of greens and stuff when you're trying to.
But you were eating a few servings of fruit though. That helps.
Yeah, like that's why like the blueberries were in their first meal, right? And
and you had your orange juice and
cranberry
juice and banana.
Yeah, exactly. So those things help. But I swear by psyllium husk, man, and I get all my clients to use that regardless of what they're doing.
Tastes like garbage though. It's like fart dust in your mouth.
Psyllium husk?
Yeah, the stuff I use it, and I must have the wrong stuff because I hate it.
I take it in capsule form.
Oh, okay. I take it in powder form in a mix it in water.
Oh, you're making life hard on yourself.
Chug it like it's Jägermeister. Get it down and out. You gotta do right.
But yeah, with the training, so I think one of the most beneficial things for me this last off-season phase was taking my training down from 6 days to 5 days. So I brought in an extra rest day, and I just trained one body part a week. So I just had like my split would basically be like chest, arms, legs, day off, shoulders, back, day off. So that benefited me for a bunch of reasons. Obviously, more recovery, but also the fact that my training became a lot more intense because when you can only train one body part per week, like you're going to kill it that session. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like you're not going to get a chance to train it again for a full week. So as opposed to what I was doing before is I was just training legs once a week or like once every 10 days even, but I was training all my upper body parts twice a week. And that wasn't really working for me, man, especially for my back. That's the biggest difference I noticed was when I went from training back twice a week to once a week. My back just started growing.
Yeah.
And also, I'll also mention I cut down exercise selection with back training. I had this like idea in my head that every workout had to be different. Like if I did the same exercises over and over, that my body would get used to it and I wouldn't respond. But I think what was happening was I was changing things so much that I wasn't really able to build technique or like progressively overload properly, you know? Yeah. So like, because if you're always switching up the exercises, how can you get stronger at any specific one, right? So I just cut it down to like 6 or 7 exercises for my back training. And I've been doing only those for the last like 16 weeks. Yeah. And my back has come up a lot because of that.
I think that is a super valuable piece of information. It's picking some exercises and sticking with them and getting really, really good at them. What most people notice is they probably have experiences that make them think it should be the other way because they're like, one, when they hit plateaus on an exercise, they think that's a bad thing. I'll tell you why I think that's a good thing. But then the other is when they switch to a new exercise and they do that for a few weeks, they make a ton of progress on that exercise, and they think that that progress is going to correlate to good muscle gains, when in reality, it's just you getting better at that lift. You know, you're not creating more hypertrophy, I don't think, but with those new, I call them noob gains, because you're new to the exercise, you're really just figuring it out. And then they'll say, well, I hit a plateau, that's a bad thing. But, you know, I like to think of a plateau as a good thing. That basically means that you have maxed out your noob gains, you're totally proficient at the exercise, and when you perform the exercise, hopefully you're doing it correctly with good technique, you are then, it's not until you get to that plateau phase that you actually engage all the possible fibers and get the most out of that lift. So I think a plateau is a good thing. I think it just means that you've mastered the lift, and now you're finally getting 100% out of that exercise.
Yeah.
About that, but it sounds like you're kind of doing that and it's working for you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think people, I think getting better at an exercise like is progressive overload in one sense, right? Like, like building technique, like getting better technique.
And then you get stronger at it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And only then, when your form is perfect and you've completely like maxed out your weights, like you've been doing the same exercise for 10 or 12 weeks or longer, then maybe you should think about switching to like something else, you know?
Yeah. Maybe after a few months kind of thing, right?
Yeah, like for example, like if you've been doing incline barbell presses for like 8 weeks, like every single week, and you've been, for the last 3 weeks, you've been hitting like 315 for 8s, and like you're not getting any better at it, then maybe switch to like a Smith machine incline press or something.
Yeah, or maybe some dumbbells or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm down with that for sure.
It's fine. Like
I like having 8 to 10 weeks straight of the same exercises. That just makes sense to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think people I think form is so easily disregarded when it comes to progressive overload. I think people are so caught up in this idea now of like getting stronger every single week that they don't realize.
Trying to beat the book.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like that's the one thing about the logbook I don't like, is that it puts you in this mindset every week I have to do a little bit more weight, right? But they don't realize that like even if you increase the weight a little bit and you can get 6 reps, but to get those last 2 reps, you change your form a little bit. It's not the same exercise anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you change the tension just a bit, it's gonna, and you bring like another part of your back into a row or something like that. Like it changes everything, right?
And not to mention risks injury too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, depending on how sloppy the form gets, right? But I'm even talking on like a minuscule scale.
Right.
Like just like getting sloppy on those last couple reps, like, you know, I guess like that type of training still has its place, but it's just not for me, man, because I've done that a couple times and I usually get hurt when I try to push it that far, right?
Yeah. So I guess the only thing that's left remain unsaid is what you do for your supplementation.
Yeah, so I do everything on like every other day kind of like schedule. Like I don't do like this much test a week or this much this a week. But like I'll give it a rundown of it because it's nothing special really. The biggest adjustment probably here was, instead of using a lot of like 1 or 2 compounds, I just used a little bit of like 4. So test base, just did test E, and I did this all year with like a break in between. So I did like 16 weeks, 8 weeks off, and then 16 weeks again, and now I'm off again. So 250 tests every second day. 100 milligrams of Deca every second day. Then I would do this might sound a little confusing, but then I would either do like Masteron E or EQ, 1 mil of each, so 200 milligrams, right? Every 4th day.
Yep.
So basically it would go like, say Monday I would do the test E, the Deca, and the EQ. Then Wednesday I would do the test E, the Deca, and the Masteron.
Yeah.
And just go back and forth like that, right?
Yeah.
And then something pretty interesting actually about the cycle was I used no Arimidex or anything.
Right. Well, it sounds like a really low, it's like a lower milligram, but a low, not very aromatizing cycle.
Yeah. I think, and like that did wonders for me. Like I think people, man, they pop anti-estrogen pills like they're no big deal, but they can hinder your gain so much. Like if your estrogen is too low, like you're not going to gain any muscle. You're
Absolutely.
going to feel like shit, right?
Guys learn that the hard way too.
Yeah, man. A lot of guys do that before a show. Like that's like a thing now before a show. Like they'll be running like so much Arimidex or whatever, and then like 3 weeks out they'll start taking Novadex, and then like they'll bring in some Letrozole, and like then they go on stage flat as hell, and they wonder, they're like, oh, it was I dieted too hard. And it's like, no, you never. You just should have just kept it what you were doing instead of adding all this shit.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like a little bit of a Arimidex and Novadex kind of thing is good going into a show, but if you add on or Letro by itself, I don't know why guys want to use 3 or 4 different AIs when Nova does one thing, Arimidex does another, Letro does the same thing as Arimidex. You don't need more of the same.
Yeah, a lot of people are under the assumption that it's going to make them drier because they're like, estrogen
just not lean enough,
and estrogen is water. So if I have no estrogen, then there can't be any water, right? But we all know if there's no water, then you're flat as hell, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, that was the biggest difference, man. And that's something we just kind of tried because I was having like no bad side effects or anything. So we're like, let's just take the Arimidex out and see what happens. And I just grew, right?
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is you allowed your estrogen to kind of just be produced without suppressing it, and that may be what really elicited a lot of your gains, right?
Yeah, that and one more thing, growth hormone, man.
Little growth, yeah.
Yeah, and like not the generic stuff, right? Like,
no.
I think Framagrade GH it's a big investment, but it's a game changer. Like as much as some people might want to deny that, like I can speak on that, and I know a lot of like pros would say the same for sure, because I use the generic stuff for a while, and I'm like not saying it's not real, but I just don't think it's like dosed accurately.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just need to take a boatload of that to probably get the same effect that you would from like a Framagrade GH.
Yeah.
But there was one period this off season where I was running the Framagrade consistently, and I had to come off it for 4 weeks just because I didn't have access to it. I didn't change my diet. I didn't change my training. I didn't change anything. And I lost like 8 pounds.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. And I will say that a lot of that was probably water retention, because when you're on like a pharmaceutical grade GH, depending on the type, like, man, like the water retention is pretty serious. Like you get like for me, like I get like cankles, my hands get pretty swollen, but like the pumps in the gym and stuff are just like immense. Like I would do like literally go and do like 3 sets of lateral raises, man, and I couldn't stand up straight because my shoulders were so long.
Yeah. I found that when like with Serostim in particular, I found that when it makes you hold water, it puts it in the best places. Like you mentioned some cankles and some like carpal tunnel, but when I see guys, my experience has been with Serostim is that you hold water, but it's like it's in the muscle. It's like your pecs and delts and arms just look so much better with that water in you.
Yeah, that's the one I'm referring to with the water retention. So with the carpal tunnel stuff, that was when I was using genotropin pens.
Yep.
Which were also excellent. They were some. I probably like that better than the Serostim, because I found I'd rather deal with the carpal tunnel than deal with the lot of water retention with the Serostim. But with that being said, you get used to the water retention with the Serostim. But I think one thing I found with that though is that it elevated my blood pressure.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had to do a few things to handle that, right? But once we got that under control, and I will say too, consistently throughout this, I was getting blood work done every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So on my off days, I would get it done. In my like during a cycle, I would get it done. And I was working with like a specialist like here in St. John's, who was like he was probably the most educated doctor that like I've met with like GH and steroids and stuff like that. And he was keeping me like he was keeping a good watch on me.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, I pushed from 280 pounds to 330 pounds from January to now, right?
Yeah.
So like I knew, yeah, like I knew what I was doing and like what could happen because of it. But luckily, made it out the other side all right. Like I had my blood work done like recently, like just at the end of the cycle, and the only thing that was a little bit elevated was like my liver enzymes, and that was probably more so just like the weight gain, more so than the drugs, because everything else checked out like almost perfect, right?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like your cycle would throw blood work out of whack too badly. I mean, you were the EQ dose, for example, is super low. That's not going to blow your hematocrit up by any means, and everything else is pretty low. And your estrogen, you'd know it if that was too high or too low. You wouldn't make any gains. You know, you wouldn't have any sex drive. Like your flaring nipples and all that stuff. So.
Yeah.
Time.
What's that?
How are we doing for time?
I'll check it. Oh shit, we're at 51 minutes, man.
51. So we can go for like 9 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. So I want to ask you a few things now. You competed most recently. So what did you place again at North Americans?
I get 6th place. It was first call out of 36. So it's something to be like proud of, but I don't love anything less than top 3. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, dude. No, I totally understand. So what was your mindset like coming out of that show?
Coming out of that show, I was frustrated with the judging because when I look at the top 6 first call out photos, you know, none of the guys that beat me had great condition. They had okay condition, and some was, honestly, I hate to say this, but a couple of those guys just had bad competition condition. Yeah. They had beautiful structures and good and more upper body mass than I did. But I kind of came out of that show a little bit angry about the judging, a little bit disappointed for that. But at the same time, I know my goal would have been the exact same, whether I got my pro card there or not. It's more upper body size. You got to keep growing and at all. Like, I love bodybuilding. I'm going to keep doing this regardless of my placings at any of these shows. And I also have the benefit that I don't need to bring my legs up. I'd probably bring them down a little bit and just training upper body, trying to grow and find new ways to get better up top.
Yeah. I saw the pictures of that show, and I think you definitely could have been 4th place. Yeah, definitely. So how much room do you have left to fill out in your weight class?
For a classic physique, I've got 10 pounds. So I weighed in at 171 and my weight cutoff is 181.
So are you going to stick with classic now? Like, is that your class, or like, will you do any more bodybuilding shows?
I would love to be I want to be a bodybuilder. I want to be in the open class. You know, I want to be a 212 pro someday. You know, and who knows, more than that. But if I'm being realistic, to say it's realistic to be a 212 pro is makes you sound like an asshole, but I believe it's realistic for me. No, I want to outgrow classic physique 100%. I'm going to do everything I can. But while, you know, on my way to the top end of a light heavyweight open class, I'll do some classic classes. Sure. I'm not against doing 2 classes at once. That said, I want to just be the best version of my own physique as possible. And if that means I'm 182 and I can't make classic, but I'm in light heavyweight, then I'm going to do light heavyweight and not be able to do classic. I'm not going to suck down and sacrifice my own look to make classic physique. I've sucked down before. Like in 2013, I did Canadian Nationals, and the coach I was using at the time wanted me to get into welterweight, which meant losing like 7 pounds of water only the last day. And I mean, I got in there and I got 5th place, and I would have got dusted in the middleweight class with the size that I had at the time. But I was flat and stringy, and I mean, I was diced and shredded, but I didn't have any pop, and I didn't like how I looked really. So
Yeah, no, that's the main thing, man, is liking how you actually look. So what's your approach going into this off season, like training wise? Like, are you going to lay off the leg training and just focus on like the upper body, or like what's the plan?
For sure. So right now, since I just did that show at the end of August, I'm just cruising, doing that little health phase for like 4 to 6 weeks. And then in November, I'm going to, start pushing it again with the supplements, get back on that track. But I'm already started my new training program. I've got a 8-week training block designed. I'm only going to do 3 or 4 sets of quads per week. I'll do 3 or 4 sets of leg press once a week, and I'll do 3 or 4 sets of leg curls once a week. And that'll be it for my leg training. I'm going to do more calves than I'm going to do either quads or hamstrings. But then I'm going to focus mostly on upper bodies. So I get a little nerdy about this, like an accountant. I take a spreadsheet and I'm like, here's how many sets I'm going to start with per body part, and here's how many I want to end with. And so it'll basically see me starting with. So I'm in week 2 now, but in week 1 I had like 14 total sets for chest, 12 sets for back, 12 sets for delts, 12 sets for triceps, 12 sets for biceps, and then like 6 sets for 6 sets for calves, 6 sets for forearms, and 4 sets for hamstrings, and 3 sets for quads. But then for each body part up top, I'm going to add 1 set every week. So 1 set to back each week, 1 set to chest each week, 1 set to delts, 1 set to triceps, 1 set to biceps. And so I took 80 total sets to start, and then work up to like 120 to 130 total sets by the end of the 8-week block, 10-week block. And where I can't add sets, I'm going to add either weight or intensity, So I'm only going to be doing 3 sets of leg press for quads, but I can take a weight, and then every single week I can either add weight or add reps, or, when I max those out, then I can add drop sets, and I can continue to overload without adding sets or even adding weight. That's going to be my approach for the body part. So like legs and forearms and calves, I'm not going to add sets to those. They're not the priority, but over the course of 8 to 12 weeks, I need to work harder at them. So I'll do that with weight or with reps or with intensity techniques.
And then on top of that, you're going to do my diet that I just explained to you, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try to. I'm going to smoke a lot of weed to really eat that much. So.
Yeah, it becomes another financial investment. You got to buy all that weed.
Yeah, well, to be honest, right now, since my show, I've been eating like an asshole. Full display. I weighed in at 171. I'm 191 now, and it's only.
You still look lean, though.
I still look good, but
you posted a picture last week, man. You look pretty good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's like maybe 170, maybe the low 170s is just over dieted for me, But I try to push to get the glutes in. If I don't have shredded glutes, then I feel like I'm not in shape. And I think getting 2 shredded glutes sacrifices some upper body size. So maybe I got to reconsider that strategy.
I think that people that like you and I that have big legs get kind of caught up in like the shredded glutes thing a little bit too easy, just because like if you have a body part that's developed more so than others, like for me, like my glutes come in way before anything else.
Yeah.
Because I have hugely developed glutes. So like I remember like my last prep, like people were like, "Oh man, like you're ready, your glutes are shredded," and like I still had like love handles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you're.
So, same. I have lower back fat is the bane of my prep existence.
Yeah, man. Me too.
Fat on my abs, I could be 15 to 20% body fat and still have all my abs. So I look in the mirror and think, "Oh, you look pretty good." And then someone takes a picture of my back and I've got cheeseburgers on my.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's but it goes both ways, right? It's just lack of development. Like that was the same for me. Like my back's a weak point, and that would also be the fattiest place for me, right? Yeah. So it's.
But other than that, for my diet is I tend to need about. If I was to grow slow, 3,500 calories would be a fine starting point for me. I work my way up to probably 4,000 calories, and if I get to the point where I'm having to eat much more than that, I'm probably just getting fatter. But I've done those diets before, you know, and I've gotten fat. I've tried to do the slow, and the decision that I've come to is a small surplus is still a surplus. You can only grow so much muscle so fast. So you don't have to eat as much as you think, but if you're not gaining weight, you're not growing, you have to increase the calories. So in your situation, if you got to eat 8,000 calories a day to make the scale move at all, then that's just what you got to do.
Yeah, no, totally, man. I think we just went into it with just trying to get me as big as we possibly could. But at the same time, man, like, you know, after the initial gain, I was only gaining like a half pound every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I've just been doing this since January, like very consistently. Even when I had that 8-week break in the middle, like, I was still eating all the same food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even my cheat meals, man, honestly, like, I don't eat, like, well, I eat 2 cheat meals a week now, but back when I was eating my most food, I was doing 3, and I was supposed to be doing 3, but like, I wasn't even eating all of those. I'd still maybe only have 1 or 2 a week because I didn't even want my cheat meals at that point. Where like it just didn't matter to me. Like, food just.
There are very few people, they exist, but very few people that will be able to identify with that.
Oh yeah, no, I know, right? But like, that's part of the deal of being a 6'2" bodybuilder, right?
Yeah.
You got to get that much bigger to look that much bigger. So.
Yeah. All right. So we probably hit about an hour's worth of everyone's time, a little more. So
yeah, we're just over an hour, so we'll shut it down.
What's coming up next? Do you have an idea of who we want to get for the next episode?
Yeah, I'm not going to announce anything right here. I won't be making an announcement of who our guest is going to be, hopefully very soon, but I don't want to make false promises. So we'll just leave it here. This is episode 1.
Where can people find you?
So if you want to find me on Instagram, I am morganmac.bodybuilding. The YouTube channel is called Big Mo Bodybuilding. What about you, Randy? Where can they find you?
Instagram is Madsen Randy, MADSENRANDY. That's my username. I'm also on Facebook, Randy Madsen. You probably won't bother to look for me on there, but definitely give me a follow. I'm on private because I got a big boy job and all that, but give me a follow. Send us some questions if you want to have topics for us to talk about. If you have suggestions for guests, or you're a bro trying to become a pro, you want on the show, definitely message Morgan and then we'll try to get you in.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you said all that. So yeah, and even in the comment section below of the YouTube video here, leave some questions, or yeah, like Randy said, messages on Instagram or whatever platform you find us on. But hope you guys enjoyed episode 1. There's gonna be many more to come, so subscribe if you haven't already.
Awesome.
That's it. We're out.